And also power, there were 60,000 people without power in Florida as a result of the storm so far, and it has not even done the damage that it's, you know, set up to do in the United States, but I know it has hit Haiti, and there is some damage and victims in Haiti also from the storm. So we got to keep our eye on it. They say because of the low-lying areas in New Orleans and Mississippi that the flooding, it does not take much to flood those areas, and even though they've been working on the levees since Hurricane Katrina, some of them are still not repaired, some of them are not finished, and are not strong enough.
What a surprise.
We have Janet Napolitano running around, you know, urging people about them. You know, I've never seen the Department of Homeland Security, whose main focus really for the last week, except for the RNC and DNC, has been this hurricane.
Why? It's FEMA. It's not DHS.
No, but Janet Napolitano has been commenting on it and making statements and, you know.
Well, I want to alert everybody, and I want to apologize if Judy McLeod is listening. I want to apologize to her. I was supposed to have some documented to her. Folks, watch Canada the Free Press. First of all, she's got a terrific article up today. She wrote just a fantastic article about the upcoming elections and about Obama. That's CanadaFreePress.com, and I just want to apologize to her. I did not submit what I was going to submit. I was waiting on some additional information, which I do have, but I haven't been able to put it together. I've been, trust me when I say it's just been one of those days.
Yeah.
I want to make an announcement before you do this. Go ahead. You know what? You break the news.
Well, I'll leave you with this show. Tomorrow's show, we're going to have special guests Greg Evenson and Steve Quayle on from 9 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time, 7 to 10 Mountain Time.
That's right.
6 to 9 Pacific Time. We are going to be joined by those two wonderful gentlemen, and it's going to be a powerful show. Last time was one of the best shows I think we've had.
I talked to Steve this morning, and he's very excited about it, and Greg is Greg. I mean, I got to tell you, this guy is good.
Yeah.
I mean, he is really good.
Put it on your calendars, wherever, mark it down. Tomorrow, 9 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time, Greg Evenson, Steve Quayle, and myself and my father. And for those of you listening live, if you would like to watch us, you can go to Homeland Security, .1.tk.
Wait, isn't there a U.S. in there or no?
I'm sorry, Homeland Security U.S., .1.tk.
All right.
And you can go there and watch us live during our live shows, and also go to Cuban 1 on YouTube to catch the archived video broadcast
if you want.
Also, we don't ever do this. Team K9. We have a Team K9 Facebook, Twitter, and we have Northeast Intelligence Network Twitter account.
Yes, we do.
And we just have been seeing an influx in people, and also a Hagmann and Hagmann Report Facebook page. So if you are on Facebook, the Hagmann and Hagmann Report or Team K9 or the Northeast Intelligence Network all have pages. We put our information, episode updates, articles, all go up there as soon as we get them done. So check those sites out, like them if you have not yet already, and those are the announcements I wanted to make.
Very good. Well, on Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a special program. Marinka Peshman, who's been on GBTV, you know, on Glenn Beck television, and other places. She's the author of The Whistleblower. She's going to be on with us for the first hour on Wednesday. I'm very excited about that. Marinka Peshman, she's been on with us before, but she's got some information about some analysis that is pertinent to what we're looking at right now with respect to the current goings-on in our government. And again, I just want to direct people to Canada Free Press first thing in the morning. That's CanadaFreePress.com first thing in the morning. I've got an article, some more information from my DHS insider source.
Yeah, and you talked to him earlier. We talked about that. Probably the first time I was included in knowledge before it came out in an article about what was talked about. But
that's right.
Yeah, look for that tomorrow.
Actually, he snuck on my desk and looked at my desktop and said, "Hey, what's this?" you know, as any good investigator would do, and that's good. But you know, I got to tell you this, Joe, and then we're going to move on to serious news.
Yeah.
When I was, I had, of course, he was gallivanting this weekend, and today he was. I guess it must be nice to be retired at 28, right?
I am not retired. My wife took a short trip about 90 miles away to my best friend and his wife's house, and we had went out to a real nice dinner one night and had a barbecue the next night, and it was a nice short vacation. And yes, I like to enjoy myself.
In the meantime, I'm stuck here, you know, trying to plug leaks, not physical leaks, but plug leaks and, you know, put out fires and what have you, and I finish investigations, and I got to a point where, folks, I don't know, I've got tremendous back problems, and my back was so spasms. I was laying on the floor for about 20 minutes today, and it was like I couldn't see straight. But I was thinking, how about this for a T-shirt? Because we're working with a company locally here, American-made shirts, Hagmann, the Hagmann Report polo shirts. I don't know what you guys think of that, and T-shirts. But how about a T-shirt with handprints all over it, with something like TSA, more than just a feeling? Okay,
that's pretty good.
You know, something to that effect. I was, you know.
That's pretty good.
Maybe like it's too much ibuprofen or something. I don't know, but you know, it's yeah, more than just a feeling with handprints all over the T-shirt. I don't know. Okay, so let's get into some heavy.
Yeah, I'm going to go into some news first here. One of the headlines that caught my eyes today: Feds. Too few Americans turn to government for assistance. It says more Americans rely on their families for assistance than the government's. So federal officials have undertaken an effort to help people to apply for federal assistance. Given that only 15% of you turn to government assistance in tough times, we want to make sure you know about the benefits that could help you, the U.S. government announced today. The government-made easy website has created a Help for Difficult Financial Times page for people to learn more about the programs. The government got the statistic from a poll asking Americans what helps them the most during tough times, and here are the results. 44% said savings. Check. 21% said family. Check. 20% said credit cards or loans. Bad. And 15% said government assistance.
Why not? Let's pile on, right?
Right, and this is the things that help them most during tough times. So savings help 44% of the people surveyed most of the times. Family, 21% of the time. So the problem is, the government has a problem with you getting help from your family or having to go into your savings to help yourself. They want to step in and give away more taxpayer money, more stuff that isn't theirs to people who don't need it.
But do people understand, though? But do you understand that people understand that you have money in the savings account? How much are you making? What's your APR?
Right.
Or your interest rate? That you're making.
Right. Nothing now if you have your money in the savings. I mean,
right. It doesn't even pay to have your money in the savings.
No. And I remember, you know, I'm not that old, but I remember a time when
don't start that. It's going to make me feel.
My papa had, you know, some money in the bank, and he showed us one time the interest he made off that money, and there was a lot of money made off the interest. Especially when you look at it now, it's unbelievable.
Well, Dr. Chappie asked a question in the chat room, should I cash in my 401k right now? And I've been getting some emails about that as well. And I've been directing those emails to, I've been telling people, look, watch Gerald Celente, watch Max Kaiser, watch people, and look at Ann Barnhart as well. Look at the financial people that are not part of the creation of this problem that we're in.
There's a top headline on Steve Quayle's site, get your money out of Morgan Stanley fast. So if your money's tied into there, you might want to check that article out.
Okay, we've got it on really good authority. And this, I didn't talk to you about this, but since it's on Steve Quayle's site, there's a bank that's going to be taking a dive, like, you know, much like Bear Stearns did. An investment bank, a huge investment bank. It's going to be going belly up and bankrupt.
We saw all the well, at least we saw the few people that were mentioned, like the Soroses, the John Paulson,
right.
the Rothschilds, who sold their stock in Citibank and J.P. Morgan and
correct.
all these financial institutions and turned to gold. And I'm sure there are many more unnamed people who did the same exact thing. And what do they know that we don't know? Well, we do know that there is going to be some kind of economic collapse, hyperinflation. There has to be.
It's pretty good. Look, you know, isn't it
a matter
great?
of when, you know?
Well, yeah, when you can get your insider information, like, hey, you know, the vice president, you can talk to the vice president, or you can have a dinner for $50,000 or $30,000 with the president. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like the Insiders Club. And like John Carlin says, you know, this is a big club, and you ain't in it. Neither are we.
I was looking at it from the other side today, thinking, you know, if you wanted to create economic chaos and panic, these people don't care. It's not a burden to them to pull their money out of Citibank and invest in gold where they know it's going to be safe. It wouldn't be a burden to them if they lost all their money they had invested in those banks.
No.
It's just a ploy to create some kind of fear and preemptively cause some kind of economic problems or turmoil, or is this a real, you know, they're doing this simultaneously, publicly to, well, I mean, look, there's always an agenda behind the story, and the agenda for that story I don't think was, you know, too much truth, not when they're giving so many details about how much gold they're buying and how many percent of their, you know,
China
companies they're putting into gold. But I'm just saying, there's always a possibility that they're doing this to, like you said with another story, like the Olympics, how they put all this stuff out there and nothing happened. It makes people who are looking for these signs to, you know, makes them look bad. So
the date setters,
right?
The people that say, look, something is going to happen, and I hope, folks, that if we ever say that, you call us on it, because if I ever say, look, on October 29th, there's going to be an asteroid strike in the Mediterranean and, you know, upset the you know, whatever, the grape harvest.
I can tell you this for sure. On February 13th, 2013, there will be an asteroid that will be coming very close to Earth.
Well,
of asteroids before on record.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But when we start, look, we never date set, and I think that, and I was looking at one of the web forums, and because we're growing as rapidly as we're growing, we're getting a lot of attention, both good and bad, and of course they call us prophets for profit. Well, we're not prophets. We're not even close to prophets. And certainly the profit, P-R-O-F-I-T, boy, that's more than a stretch. You know, it's break even, but profits for profit, that's rather insulting, because we don't predict anything. And if we ever say, look, on this date, this is going to happen, we should be investigated, because I'll tell you what, you know.
I just want to address a problem here, something the chat room alerted me to. The video stream is Homeland Security US, the #1.tk.
Okay.
Okay. Somebody else said they went to this address, which they left out in something, and got a explicit site. So make sure.
Wait a minute. An explicit, like a porn site? Is that what you're saying?
That's what they say. Yeah. So make sure you type in the #1.
Ooh. Well, now here. Okay. See, here's something that.
Yeah.
Okay. This is. Oh man.
I'm not sure. I haven't checked it out.
Okay. See, look, folks, we have a problem. And again, I'm going to be real quick with this. We have people that actually are trying to redirect our legitimate sites to porn sites. Especially the more we talk about Christianity, the more we talk about Judeo-Christian things. I'm serious. I've gotten emails saying, hey, log on your site and saw, you know, some pretty graphic stuff. And so I called my ISP, and I said, well, you know, what's going on? And, well, long and short of it is we had to get like an extra little bit of insurance within the ISP that protects. I don't know what it does, but all I know, it's like $2.99 a month that protects for that stuff.
Yeah, he said,
okay.
yeah.
So anyway,
but bad.
Okay, yeah, and the other thing too, I told you about Marika Peshman, and of course tomorrow night, 9 to 12, Steve Quayle and Greg Evenson.
Marika Peshman, normal time?
Normal time.
Okay.
And like I said, call in, folks, 661-244-9839. I have something else on my mind, but
we'll be taking calls the whole show. And getting back to this article, Feds too few Americans
that was
for government assistance. There's another article, Farmers. It was the system that failed us. It talks about a bunch of farmers who have had to sell their dairy cows, some of their prize-winning dairy cows, because they don't have any water or food to feed their cattle anymore, and they're losing money daily.
Right, and you're going to see the price of beef go way, way, way down really quick.
Yeah, this family and these people say that, we're just trying to hold on to things. They keep hoping things are going to change, the grass is going to grow, rain will be here, and it just did not happen. He said he would never have thought he'd need to close the farms because of the rain, at least now. Triple-digit temperatures and sparse rain this summer produced one of the most severe and widespread droughts in the U.S. in a half-century. And we've talked about this. Most headlines are focused on the extent of the drought. The fact is that it enveloped more than half the country, or that temperatures in July were the hottest in any month on the record. Now, this has done tremendous damage in rural communities that depend on agriculture for their income, because they say right here it's an earth-shattering event that so many dairy farmers from southern Missouri all the way, to Texas are losing. They're having to sell off, or they're losing their crops, their farms, their cattle, their whatever their herd is, and they say it's frightening. And to add to it, the Obama administration earlier this month announced emergency drought assistance that included low-interest loans and federal buy-up of livestock products to keep the people and small farmers in business. However, they've been delayed, and the governor said that they're not going to give out the money because it's like putting a Band-Aid on a big issue rather than fixing the real solution. And they go into talking about the price of corn. Doubled from July 2010 to 2012, up $7.36 a bushel.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. The price of corn is crazy. I'm going to address this real quick in the chat room. Folks, Rick Wiles, I noticed that we haven't seen an update from him since Friday. I'm going to check to make sure he's okay. We have a system in place where we would know if he wasn't okay. Trust me. We would know quickly if he wasn't. Now, we haven't updated since Friday either, and that's because,
But apparently he didn't have a show today, if that's what I'm understanding from the chat room.
Well, he might put it up. He might have had a show and he might put it up later. I don't know. It's usually up around, 4 or 5, 6 o'clock. But I'll double check at the break to make sure he's okay and check in with you folks. Okay, guys? Okay, all right. And to Protracker, because you weren't here, but apparently you weren't listening in class earlier. You're gonna have to stay after.
We get a lot of people that enter, after the show starts.
Okay. So we're gonna make this announcement one more time.
Both people.
Okay. You too. He's on tomorrow, 9 to 12, with Greg Evenson. Thank you, Dan's buddy. Great job. All right. Okay, moving on. Look, we got some serious things here that are really disturbing in our spirit.
We have this article from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Global Development, Food Shortages Could Force World into Vegetarianism, warn scientists.
I'd have a hard time with that, folks. I don't know about you guys.
Soy dogs and free vaccines for all. The earlier strategic decisions that Becky and I made about where we were going to live were driven by factors related to freshwater availability. If we didn't have sufficient water for gardens and livestock, we knew we would be buying more food, which would increase our chances of consuming GM food.
Genetically modified food. And again, here's that push now, right?
And this is somebody commenting on the article who is leading into this article, Bill Gates, right?
Right.
And it says, making sure that you have clean air, water, and food are minimum baselines for your lifestyle. You have no doubt noticed how difficult it is to attain, like organic food, raw milk, etc., and it's not going to get any easier. This is what Bill Gates' publication said. Leading water scientists have issued one of the sternest warnings
this is on The Guardian,
about global food supplies saying that the world's population may have to switch almost completely to a vegetarian diet over the next 40 years to avoid catastrophic shortages. Humans derive about 20% of their protein from animal-based products now, but this may need to drop by 5% to feed the extra 2 billion people expected to be alive by 2050, according to research from some of the world's leading water
I don't think we're going to have to worry about that population explosion.
To make a long story short, they say dire warnings to the Water Society limiting food production will help spur the UN to step in and pretty much manage and dictate how much water you will have.
And there it is, folks.
Even in the U.S., the UN will have the power to say, you do not have access to your own water. You can have X amount of gallons a day. The UN will delegate that water. This is part of Agenda 21. And you know what? Also, carbon taxes. They're pushing for carbon taxes in the New York Times. That's a whole different story we're going to get into.
But Brian and Judy were talking about the UN. This is about 3 or 4 years ago. They were talking about these UN biospheres and biodiversity areas, or these biodiversity biospheres. Okay, water is going to, our next war could very well be fought over water, and the United Nations has their hand, as you said, has their hand in this. And ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, for the United Nations to get in here to the United States and to dictate to the United States, which is what they're ultimately going to do, how much water you can use. But look, they've already clamped down on how many, like 1.28 gallons per flush of a toilet.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
so got the smart meters on the house to mess with the amount of electricity and
and a lot of people don't. But see, a lot of people don't get that. That where did that 1.28 gallons come from? Well, for a toilet flush. Well, yeah, obviously it was by our law. I mean, by the congressional, by the Congress and everything. But originally, this is an Agenda 21 / United Nations NGO type operation.
Yeah,
and it's going to get worse.
Yes, it is. We got callers on the line. I think we're going to start off with callers right now. We're going to go to area code 403 first. You are on the air with the Hagmann and Hagmann report.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for taking my call.
Well, good evening. What? Sure, I was just going to say, what's important to you? Instead, I'm talking over you, but go ahead.
Okay. Concerning those earthquakes, I don't know if you've also noticed they had another swarm off of the coast of El Salvador, and I think they had a 7.4 on that one, and it's also on the same, I think it's on the San Andreas Fault, so it's still on the same line. So you've got those two earthquake swarms talking to each other, so to speak.
Now, are you well-versed in earthquakes? I mean, do you follow this a lot?
I am watching it a lot. I get the information off the USGS site. Typically, the link was from Steve Quayle's site.
Okay.
And I've watched that over the years.
What's this telling you? What's going on in your mind here with these earthquake swarms? These, that we're seeing.
Physically, it looks like what's happening right now is the stress is being relieved at one point and is now transferring it to another point. And right now, these 2 points seem to be talking back and forth to each other. And once the one stress is past the next one, where's the next point that the stress is going to be released on? Because you'll have pressure building up one side, being released on the other side, and that side is now going to unbalance things. So the next point down is now building up stress, and it's going to push harder on the side that just released its stress. So it's almost like a slinky toy going back and forth here. Where's the next point that's going to start shaking?
Can you, based on your analysis, do you have an idea? Even if it's a swag, just a wild, scientific, wild, guess.
Well, you've got the areas in California above Centralia. So the pressure is building up there again. San Francisco, LA. It's probably putting more pressure off of the coast of Oregon and Vancouver Island. That one they're concerned with that if it lets loose, it may actually produce a very strong quake.
Okay.
Especially some of the prophecies talk about numbers that are off the Richter scale. I won't go there, but this is an area. It's still all in the ring of fire. And then you look on the other side in Indonesia, they're starting to have other quakes there, but they weren't swarming like they are in off of El Salvador and California.
Okay. All right. Well, continue with that line of thought. I'm intrigued because, you know, it sounds like you have a good understanding of this. And it also sounds like you're a Canadian.
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. What do you, I mean?
What can you expect to see in the next? You know, will this pressure be released shortly? I mean, seeing the swarm of this many quakes, you know, across the same tectonic plate. You had the 7.4. You just had a 5.0 plus the swarm in California and in El Salvador. Can we expect to see something soon? With this pressure release?
And Carlo, we're not above talking about prophecy either. So, you know, I mean, if you see something that kind of fits with that, so you know, both of our questions. Go ahead.
It's anybody's guess as to what's actually happening underground. Some of the world's best experts have been scratching their head for centuries, so I'm not about to unravel it tonight. But if the pressure is being released at one point, it's going to create pressure somewhere else.
Right. Okay.
And the question is, where is that other point, and can it withstand what is being released right now, or will it pop itself? And always, you know, I think it's been about 2 years ago when you had the last, 2 or 3 years ago when you had the last swarm that lasted several weeks just south of Centralia into the northern Baja, Mexicali, and then they finally had that massive quake about 3 years back, just after, or right around the Easter point. That hit northern Mexico there in Mexicali.
Right.
Since then, it has died out, and I think there had been a swarm since then, and it's quietened down. There was nothing major, staying at about 2.3, 2.5 in that area. And now all of a sudden, this picked up since Saturday. You're looking at almost 20 an hour of these quakes at some of the times when you start going back and looking at the times they occur. So it is quite substantial. Will it cause enough pressure to build for something else to shear? And of course, the worst case scenario is if it's off in Oregon, and you have plate slippage, not so much slippage, but where it gets pushed down. And then you have the situation as in Sumatra and Fukushima.
Oh. Oh.
If you just have slippage, there's no real displacement of the water. But if you have the plates shifting up or down, then you're going to have potential tsunami if it is a large enough quake.
So slippage is what's slippage?
Slippage is one plate rubbing against the other. You put your hands in the water and draw them past each other, nothing much happens. But if you move your hands up and down, all of a sudden you're creating water displacement.
Okay, now I understand. Okay, good explanation. Okay.
And that's what would create something we don't want to happen, the tsunami.
Right.
Is there anything?
Wow. Yeah.
So,
now, in your estimation, the 403 area code is what I think Western Canada is that.
Western Canada, through Vancouver, Vancouver Island. It's just off of Washington State, off of Portland, Oregon. And there's some,
yeah, how do you feel like, for example, being on the western part of Canada, is that a hot area right now because of the earthquakes? I mean,
for where I am, I'm just outside of Calgary, Alberta, so I'm basically high and dry, and we don't have earthquakes up here.
Okay.
And any tsunami should not hit us at all. We're, 3,000 feet above sea level. Vancouver Island, Vancouver, Portland, Seattle is much closer to the water, and I don't think it was AC Valdez. There was another prophet back in the 1920s, 1930s that had come up into the Vancouver area. I think it might actually be recorded on Steve Quayle's prophecy site. He's got a bunch of prophecies there.
Right.
But he'd seen a tsunami that came in that supposedly went all the way up to Hope, which is 100 miles inland.
Right.
Fraser Valley. Which would definitely be something that the West Coast itself would not like. And yes, they do have regular small earthquakes off of the coast of Vancouver Island. Up near Tofino, they have small ones on a somewhat regular basis. But again, if there's a large one somewhere off Portland, it's anybody's guess as to what's going to happen.
Mm. Wow.
Well, thanks for your call. Is there anything else before we let you go?
Oh, yeah, I'll pick on the other hot topic on the other side of the continent, Isaac.
Yes.
You were making a couple of the dot connections. It's been 7 years since Katrina. Katrina happened also at the end of the expulsion of the Jewish people from Gaza.
From Gush Katif. Yes.
From Gush Katif. And basically, if I understand it correct, after they finished bulldozing the houses, within 24 hours, Katrina hit.
Correct.
Tomorrow, there's supposed to be another expulsion just north of Jerusalem in Modin.
Is this the same one from a couple weeks ago that we reported on, where there were, I think, 13 families, or?
No, this is, we might have said, no.
It's possible. I did hear that broadcast.
Okay, now, how much area is involved in this new expulsion?
Probably about 2 or 3 square miles, if that.
Okay.
It's 10, 15 families. Supposedly they have bought the land from the new claimees of Arab population that have supposedly owned it. And they have petitioned before this Israeli Supreme Court, which is to be judged on tomorrow, which is the expulsion date, as to whether it's legitimate or not.
Oh.
But there seems to be pressure to make this thing happen. Is that pressure coming from the U.S.? And if it is it similar to what was happening with Katrina, or not Katrina, but out of Gaza?
Right.
Area. And now we have another potential hurricane. It's supposed to be hurricane status later on tonight, and possibly a 2 by the time it hits New Orleans. Is there a parallel here?
Well, yeah, there definitely is, and we're going to have to wait and see how Isaac turns. If it turns into a hurricane, and how big of a hurricane, and
I believe measure for measure. I do, and I think at this point all bets are off, because now it's we've
gone
passed
way beyond that.
Yeah.
The first one was a warning.
Yeah.
The second part of that, I'm not sure whose website I was reading it on, but as it was 7 years ago. This is also the week of decadence in New Orleans, where you have the gay pride and all of those guys strutting their stuff.
Wow. Oh, we have a trifecta then, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a third item, just a quick question, Mr. Hagmann, that you were talking on the Tamara Yoma show on Sunday. I was listening to that one also.
Yes.
Have you found out anything more about what was happening in Egypt?
Well, yeah, and folks, for those who listen, those listeners who don't understand what the question was about, I was on the Tamara Yoma show out of Jerusalem, out of Israel, on Sunday morning. And the question was, what's taking place in Egypt, and are there really crucifixions going on and such? To answer your question, sir, as best we can find out, that I can find out, the Coptic Christians are on the run. The pressure is building against them. All Christians in Egypt are really, to the point of being persecuted, and right, and there have been, okay, and I don't know how else to confirm this, and I was a little bit surprised by tomorrow's question a little bit. I mean, not surprised, just who wouldn't expect this? But there have been killings in Sky News. One of the biggest overseas reporting agencies to sanitize their website. They had the images of these crucifixions that were republished on the Arabic language terrorist websites. Well, actually, they were hot linked, not republished. So when Sky News scrubbed the photographs, they went off of the Arabic language sites as well. But yes. Look, and it's only going to get worse, sir. It's only going to get worse, the persecution of Christians. And Morsi, don't forget, was American educated, and he's hand in hand with Obama. So, it's just a matter of time when it's coming to here, when it's coming to America, when it's coming to Canada.
Well, I know. I have a feeling, though, that the U.S. is going to be getting the brunt of whatever is coming.
Yes.
And we will be seriously hurt up here. After all, you are one of our biggest trading partners. So if you're hurt, like the old adage is, when you sneeze, we catch the influenza.
I've always liked that. I don't, and it's not meant to demean you, but I think that we're that close, and I think that in that spirit.
And with that caller, we got to let you go. We got a whole bunch of other calls on the line. We appreciate your call.
Great call. Call back again anytime, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we are going to go to area code 808. You're on the air with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hey, I'm just calling up to listen.
Okay, we'll put you back on hold.
This is a quiet guy. Just aloha to y'all and to the family, being who they are.
God bless you. Aloha.
All right.
I'll tell you what, we are reaching, folks. I'm so excited. We are reaching so many people out there, so many different countries. I got a Chris Matthews tingle down my leg. Go ahead, Joe.
All right. Area code 704. You're on the air with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
I'm just listening, Joe.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. And I guess we're going to go to, let's see, area code 484.
We're going to have to get a professional call screener in here.
Jim, you're online with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hey, how you doing? I was just giving a call. I'm just so thankful for everything that's going on right now. But did you guys hear of the new Obama movie that came out, 2016?
Oh, yes. Yes. Have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen it right away. And I'm not agreeing with every single thing that's in that movie, but that is really powerful that they actually went to Africa and interviewed Obama's father, friends that he used to be with, his half-brother. And if you look at it, that guy looks exactly like a really dark Obama. And I'm a black man myself, and it really gets to me when I try to tell people about Obama. And it's almost like they're defending Christ when they're the way they defend Obama. It's almost like it's the religion that you're coming at.
Right.
Speaking to people today on Facebook, it's nerve-wracking because it seems like they really are, the mind control is really happening. And once you at least, some people are opening their minds to it. Once you at least see that how brainwashed people are about Obama, that goes in almost any race or anything, then you'll start to see even more of what's going on in the government and all around the world around us.
Yeah, I agree with you, caller, and I think the worst part is that not only do they defend him, you could have evidence, show them many things that he has done that are horrible, and yet they still ignore them or refuse to believe them. And
let me ask you something, caller. As an African American or as a black man yourself, okay? Do you believe that the average white person in America is really there's a racial component against Obama? I mean, if Obama was, I mean, is there an element of racism here in your estimation?
In that movie, they bring up that topic and pretty much say how Obama's the perfect type of black man for white, black, Chinese, whoever to kind of like, because he's that type. This is how his personality is. But it's really a deception, and I think it does play a big part on racism, but also on the blacks. I convict them right away because the biggest racial act they do is not knowing anything about Obama, things that he had passed, and then some of them being so stupid, like, it's just like so stupid to say that the only thing that they can stand on is that Osama bin Laden was killed while he was in office. That's one of the most stupid. That's one of the main things that's been happening. I showed the NDAA Act, the Patriot Act, all these things that he is signing, and people just ignore it and look over it. And then I still believe that the reason why he's in office is completely just so people can try and see history, and it's the easiest way to deceive people into bringing in an NWO to get someone to. And I still believe if something does happen to Obama, like you said, Joe Biden will come on and take over just to keep it going on, so people will think that everything we're bringing up is false.
Wow. Yeah, look, I don't think anything is going to happen to Obama. I really don't. I think that there's going to be a false flag that's going to draw empathy and sympathy toward the Obama family and to the Democratic Party and to the White House and to the upper echelon of the power structure, but I really don't think it's going to be a false flag type scenario. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I doubt it too, because I still believe that there's a chance that he could be the Antichrist, because he's right in that field of everybody trying to follow him, with ignoring what's going on. Like, I'll convict Christians all the time, African-American Christians too, specifically, and say, who are you going to support more, Christ or Obama? And it's like they just don't want it. My mom said the other day, I just don't want to hear it anymore. My grandma says she would get a tattoo. My grandma is so against tattoos. She would get a tattoo of Obama on her wrist. I mean, anywhere on her body. It's just ridiculous. I think it's a spiritual thing also.
Wow. That's powerful. I mean, really, when you think about it that way, that's powerful. Man, I'll tell you.
It's just mind control.
Well, yeah, I believe that, caller. I'll tell you what, and I thank you for your courage in standing up. And look, you got to have guts. I mean, look, as a black man, you got to have guts to do what you're doing. And say, hey, look,
Yeah, so much of the terrible things that have happened throughout society, how we have gotten this far morally, is by people just following along with the crowd, trying to fit in.
Yeah.
Nobody is independent. Nobody thinks for themselves or wants to stand for, what's right, not stand with the rest of their friends. So, and that's a mindset for everyone, and it's sad to see it happen so much here in America.
It's happening with the music that we're listening to, the TV that we watch. I noticed that I've been know about the Illuminati and every single thing about it for like maybe 4 or 5 years now, but I still would catch myself falling off and getting sucked right back into the TV or listening to music again. And all those things is in the Bible saying that that's going to happen in the end times. I spoke to a pastor at my church, and my church is not that woke like that, but he was convicted when I showed him Ezekiel 33, and he already knows about Illuminati and everything like that. Now he's posting the things And I remember I called before about my church being awoken to it. Now I believe my main pastor is going to probably have a sermon about it now.
Wow. Well, that's great. Look, you know, we need these churches to be awake. I know the church I go to. It's interesting because out of the blue, it was almost as if the pastor was talking to me on Sunday, said something that it just hit me right between the eyes, and I thought, wow, you talk about divine providence and being in the right place, and you know, knowing that this person, this church is awake. So yeah, it's good, man. And you know what? I got an email from Elizabeth. But that's not your email name, is it?
No.
Okay, saying, praise God, our church is awake, and she went on to describe the things that are happening with her church. So you know, it seems like people are waking up. This is a good thing.
Yeah, it's really powerful. I'm about to hang up and get back to work, but
all
I
right,
just wanted to bring up one more thing.
Yeah.
Have you noticed any emails about how the mosquitoes are starting to get a lot more in number now?
I've seen different posts on that. I think I got one email about the mosquitoes. Somebody sending me a link about those.
Right.
Are those?
Yeah, I'm in PA.
Yeah. Okay.
Are those genetically modified mosquito releases, or is this something else?
No, I'm just seeing them in person just right now myself. Like they're a lot bigger than they normally are. And I just wanted to throw that out there because that would be very easy for them to genetically modify that without people knowing.
They have already done that, actually. We covered a story where they released over 20,000 genetically modified mosquitoes in Florida this spring, and these mosquitoes pollinate or reproduce with other mosquitoes, turning them into the genetically modified mosquitoes.
It's kind of like the Africanized bees, you know. So,
yeah,
and I think, you know, if we look at, for example, the West Nile virus and how that got started in New York, and where it came from, and I mean, this is all part of a larger plan. So, nothing would surprise me. But well, you get back to
Bill Clinton tried to apologize, but it didn't work. About the MK.
Yeah. From the experimentation. Yeah. So much for that. But he's going to be front and center at the convention, at the Democratic convention, I believe. And I've been seeing him doing a lot of commercials for Obama. And folks, I'm going to tell you, Marika's going to be talking about this on Wednesday as well. There's something going on here with Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and the Obamas.
Yes.
You know, there's something very bad. But well, thanks for the call, Jim.
Okay. Yeah, and I just want to say, if anything, if y'all can try to promote that new movie that is out, it's a documentary.
Oh, we'll do, absolutely. 2016.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, look. And thanks, caller. Yeah, I saw that today. Today. Okay. And in addition to this caller, and they said it's very. What's the word? Well, they used moving and very spiritual. It touched them spiritually, and I'm not talking about a person that would, you know. And I don't think that was the intent of the movie. I mean, the intent was not spirituality. It was fact. It was documentary, but
yeah. A couple more important news stories I want to get into here. Russia joins U.S., Canada for military drills. Watchful Eagle headquarters to be in Colorado, Alaska. Moscow, a group from the Russian armed forces will take part in the military drills with the U.S. and Canada to be held next Monday in North America, a military official said. The Watchful Eagle 2012 anti-terrorism exercise, slated for August 27th through the 29th, will take place in the U.S. and Canada. The first group of Russian forces, including air officials from the Eastern Military District, have left Moscow and would join at the Colorado headquarters in the U.S., reported.
Now, callers and listeners.
Zenua.
Now, folks, listening to this program live and callers, explain to me, number one, we've got Russia, a joint Russia-U.S. exercise. We have Colorado. What else that was in there? We've got, so we got number one, we're looking back at Colorado here.
Alaska.
And Canada, I'm sorry. We've got the Canadian involvement. And this is not right. This is not right.
No.
I don't care what people, there are people on the other, for example, I've heard from military personnel say, wait, we've done this before, but not like this, not to this extent.
Yeah, and the title of that article is Russia Joins U.S., Canada for Military Drills, Watch Full Eagle HQ to be in Colorado, Alaska. Also in news today, France urges Syrian president, France urges Syrian Free Army or opposition to form a new government. France will recognize a provisional Syrian government as soon as it has been formed. President Francois Hollande said on Monday, using Syria's fractured political opposition to establish one as soon as possible, and they will have the backing fully of France. Even though Syria already does have a legitimate established government, this is more of the push, especially from the socialist French president, to back the West and NATO efforts in undermining the Syrian regime by helping the Taliban and Al-Qaeda overthrow another country to take political control, or of the appearance of having political control, and then they can get it taken away from them, as soon as they want. The U.S. can put up all these prop governments in Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and Al-Qaeda in Libya and take them out whenever they want to, just like they did with Gaddafi and
that's right.
I mean, these people are dispendable. Also, Empire State Building shootings last week. I know we mentioned this, but it came out, it turns out that all the bystanders were shot by police. The only person that was shot by the shooter was the employee or his boss. All other people there were shot by the police.
Okay, but to be fair, there was some ricochet. There were some, ricochets.
It just says police appear to be at fault for all 9 people injured during the recent shooting incident at the Empire State Building, says NYPD Commissioner Raymond Kelly.
Right. No, I'm not sticking up for the police. Believe me.
No, I'm just saying that. That I just find that interesting. I know they had a gunman who shot somebody.
Right.
But when you're in a situation where you're in a crowd of people, you have to, especially being a police officer, be very careful.
Oh, yeah. Okay, but look, this weekend is 30 Harry movies are on, and not everyone's Dirty Harry with a handgun. But then again, for officers to fire, I think it was like, how many shots did they fire? Like a whole bunch of shots. And then wounding 9 people, 9 bystanders, to me tells me anyway, somebody needs to go to the range, number 1, and number 2, well, just good to get to the range. But I had a problem with Bloomberg coming out right away and kind of dissing the police officers at the time.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
I didn't like that. I didn't like the methods he used. But then again, I don't like police officers shooting innocent bystanders.
Right.
But there are ways to talk about that than that way. By the way, speaking of people dissing other people, Obama and the Catholic Cardinal Bolin. Look, the Cardinal Bolin, you don't have to be a Catholic to appreciate this, but understand this. Obama has a definite prejudice against Christianity and Christians, a very strong prejudice against them. Cardinal Bolin is perhaps the most visible representative of the Catholic faith. He's going to be delivering the opening prayer at the RNC, and that's fine. He offered his services to the DNC, and they declined. Instead, they're going to have 20,000 Muslims there, and actually, it's the grand imam for.
I mean, we have a cast of people being featured at the DNC who are the leaders of pro-abortion movements. Yeah. We have now 20,000 Muslims being invited to the DNC, and it just goes to show you the extreme positions and how far the Democratic Party has come from being democratic. And I heard today on, I'm not sure, the Tom Hartman show on the left.
Good old Tom.
Yeah, and they were talking. He was talking about, we need to restore democracy and democracy this and democracy that. We
democracy
have
now
a
is the channel.
constitutional republic.
That's correct.
We do not have a democracy, and these people are, by changing and putting in everybody's minds. If you ask, 70, 80% of the people in America probably think it's a democracy, not a republic.
That's mob rule.
Right, and they keep using this. Oh, we need to restore democracy. No, we don't. We need to restore the republic. And I just think that
we need
by
to restore the
using that language, the democracy, that's what they're trying to promote in the Middle East as trying to as the end result for the overthrow of government. But really, that's not at all what comes in. It's religious, extreme religious oppression, people who are ready to kill the Christians and wipe out certain ethnic groups, and that's their goal, that's their agenda. And if you don't bow down to them, you're going to be next regardless of what color, race, religion you are. Folks, you're listening to the Hagmann Report. We are going to break. We will be back in a few short minutes. Stay with us. We'll be taking your calls on the other side and much more news.
Hi folks, Doug Hagmann here. You might know me as the co-host from the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, or as a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. If you're like me, you're tired and confused over today's headlines. You just don't know where to turn for accurate, concise information about really what's going on, what's truly going on in today's society. If you don't know where to turn for accurate, well-researched, and properly vetted news, I've got a suggestion. In fact, it's a requirement. Bookmark Canada Free Press. That's canadafreepress.com on the internet. It's just not for Canada. It's for news across the world. Judy McLeod, founding editor, has put together a vast array of talented writers like Kelly O'Connell, Daniel Greenfield, Dr. Eileen Johnson-Powell, a lot of guest columnists, very talented writers. Folks, that's Canada Free Press at canadafreepress.com. Now mobile friendly. Follow on Facebook, because without America, there is no free world.
Survival of the fittest. In any and all situations, survival is your #1 priority. That requires being tough and thinking smart. And the folks at Freeze Dry Guy are going to help you do just that. They have the long-range patrol ration entrees, what they call the Brick Pack. When you're in survival mode, it is absolutely the best item for your survival pack or bug-out bag. You can go farther, faster, and carry more food with the LRP cold weather ration entrees. Not only do these long-lasting, durable entrees help sustain you or your family through the harshest environment or situation, they are by far the most delicious of their kind. No contest. With a variety of tasty entrees, you can't beat the LRP Brick Packs. Let Freeze Dry Guy help you in your survival situations. Go to freezedryguy.com. That's freezedryguy.com, or call 866-404-3663. That's 866-404-FOOD.
And folks, definitely, if you are looking for a food storage place, someone knowledgeable about food storage, contact the Freeze Dry Guy. Go to our website, HomelandSecurityUS.com, click on the ad on the right, get a hold of the Freeze Dry Guy. Tell him what you need, or tell him your situation. Ask him what you need. Find out what the specials are for August. Find out what the specials are for September. But get prepared. I'm going to tell you, one of the best, in fact, folks, get it soon, because these freeze-dried meals are running short. That's the Freeze Dry Guy off of HomelandSecurityUS.com. And tell them Doug and Joe sent you.
If you're stumped, you don't know what kind of gift to give to a friend or a loved one, I'm telling you, you must go to 4physics.com. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. This is your one-stop shopping palace. That's the only way I can put it. I could spend easily an hour on this website. Innovative, fun, educational. There are games, books, weather instruments, unique time-telling devices, jewelry, optical devices, laboratory equipment. Let me give you an example. We all know we can tell time with a sundial. You've seen those advertised. Did you know that you could tell time by the stars? At 4physics.com, you can buy a horologium nocturnum. This was a navigational device used in the 15th century by navigators at night to tell time by the stars. It's beautifully crafted in the shape of a pendant made of bronze and pewter or gold and silver. Absolutely a stunning gift. I would be proud to give it to anyone. You must go to 4physics.com. Even if you're not stumped, that's 4physics. That's the numeral 4, PHYSICS.com. It's your one-stop shopping palace. Any problems that you have, I don't know what to get Grandpa, I don't know what to get my loved one, that's unique, you will find it at 4physics.com. Please take my word for it. Go to the website, but give yourself a lot of time because you're not going to want to leave. 4physics.com.
Doug Hagmann, one guy that doesn't need a bullhorn to get your attention.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 2 of this Monday, August 27th edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. My name is Joe Hagmann. My co-host is Doug Hagmann. Together, we are the premier father-son internet radio show team. Also on video at Homeland Security US 1.tk. With that, our second hour, we'll be getting into more news stories and taking your calls at 661-244-9839. That's 661-244-9839. Starting off this hour, I found this story here. The courts will soon decide if police can sample your DNA without a warrant.
This is troubling for a lot of reasons. Yeah.
U.S. courts will soon decide whether Americans can have their expectations of privacy over their own DNA. The reporter from the Recorder writes, Michael Reiser out of the ACLU, Northern California, is challenging a California law that requires all felony arrests to give a DNA sample. He argues Americans don't want government to have all the information about us. The government does not have the right to demand our genetic material.
That's correct.
And including the wealth of personal information it holds, even if it promises to only use it for law enforcement, Reiser claims. So he's saying, they don't need more information on us when they already have this.
And they're keeping a database on all the DNA that they're collecting. They're keeping a database on all of us.
Yeah. It says that concern is already playing out in terms of other ways the government collects data on innocent Americans without a warrant. And that goes from drones to, all kinds of different methods of surveillance. The head of the CIA said your dishwasher is spying on you. We know that TVs, maybe capabilities, right. Microphones, even light bulbs, they say, can transmit data about you.
The fluorescent lights do that efficiently, as a matter of fact. But think about this. What's that large location in the middle of the United States that's owned by the National Security Agency? What do? I'm going to tell you what they do. They match, okay. When, for example, you go in for a DMV, your license, they take your photograph. They take your photograph when you're at kiosks. You buy a ticket, they take your photograph. Did you know that? They take your photograph when you're walking down the street. They also facial recognition software. They match up every record so this building is a database.
Yeah, they have those
on
fusion
everybody.
centers.
Well, those fusion centers are little baby
right.
centers. But this NSA-operated massive behemoth of a center is actually collecting. It's like having a file. Back in the 50s, for example, the FBI would have a file on you. If you were, we'll say, a suspected communist or whatever, or a political dissident, the FBI would have a file on you. actual hard copy file, and of course Hoover had his own and so on. But imagine this, not doing anything, just being an American citizen, and everything's being collected. But if you are an American citizen and you're a Christian and you're pro-life and you're anti-abortion and you're outspoken, then there might be a little flag by your name, by the virtual database that they have. So how easy would it be, Joe, for them to say, all right, yeah, so Joe Hagmann's file right here, look at this, he's got he's got 3 or 4 flags next to him. Okay, we're going to implement the stage 1 of whatever. He goes first. All the people with the 3 or 4 stars or flags or check marks next to their name, they go first. That's what it's coming down to.
Yeah. And in other news we reported on last year, Russia and China were moving away from the dollar.
Yes.
Well, now they're saying that the yuan tipped to replace U.S. dollar, euro in Southeast Asia. They say that China's currency would eventually be used as an alternative to the dollar and the euro by countries in Southeast Asia, experts say. So basically, China and all the countries in East Asia, as well as Russia, was following suit last year, according to reports, will be getting away from the U.S. dollar.
We are witnessing the demise of our fiat currency, which is in a way a good thing, but it's not good for us. And
if the U.S. dollar is removed as the world's reserve currency status, then no, that would be we would have huge financial implications. That would be horrible.
That's correct.
For our pocketbooks, it would really turn us into a third world country at a much faster rate. But from what I see, this report is just talking about moving the dollar out of the Eastern Asia countries or the Asian countries, but still would have a huge effect on the dollar because all the money that is in circulation, and when that comes back around and nobody wants it, that's when the hyperinflation starts, and where we go from there.
Yeah. Well, now I've got folks. I don't know whether you heard about this. You remember back in September of last year, the Council on American-Islamic Relations, CARE, the unindicted co-conspirator in the largest Hamas terrorist trial, financial terrorist trial in the country, the Holy Land Foundation trial. These thugs, the Council on American-Islamic Relations. Yes, I said thugs. CARE, because by definition, I suppose, if you're an unindicted co-conspirator, that could be synonymous. Well, guess what? They're demanding, and they have demanded, this is last September, that the FBI remove all anti-Muslim bias. This is material they call anti-Muslim bias from their training systems. Now, there's a press release issued back in September 21st, where CARE joined a coalition of other other groups, pro-Islamic organizations, calling for the FBI to just completely remove, tear out, rip out any type of Muslim bias from the training system. Now, we're finding out today now that this has been ratcheted up a little bit. The Islamic Circle of North America, the ICNA, which is kind of a lesser-known part of the Muslim Brotherhood, they've got ties directly to Jamaat al-Islamiyah or Jamaat Islami organizations in Southeast Asia. They are now jumping on the bandwagon, and also, in addition to holding certain conventions for or certain seminars to teach people how to infiltrate and get any type of anti-Islamic sentiment from or anti-Islamic facts from these training sessions, whether it be FBI or local police departments. This is taking place right now. And the Muslim Brotherhood is, in fact, behind both of these organizations. Both of these organizations are pushing for this, and they are actually redefining what terrorism is in America. And this is also being shored up by various United States judges across the country. So, folks, watch out for this. It's new stuff going on right now.
And more Agenda 21 news here. The New York Times calls for a carbon tax. Don't expect to hear much about climate change at the RNC, or both conventions, I'm sorry. There will be plenty of speeches about unemployment, deficits, and immediate problems, but threats posed by global warming are decades away, or so we have been told repeatedly in recent years. Many climate scientists, however, are now pointing to evidence linking rising global temperatures to the extreme weather we're seeing around the planet. The United States has just endured its hottest 12-month period on record.
As you said.
The worst drought in a generation has parched the nation's crop belt. Floods happened once a century now occur every few years. With distressing images of weather-related disasters saturating the news media, climate change no longer seems such a distant and abstract worry, except perhaps in Washington. In 2009, President Obama persuaded House Democrats, then in the majority, to pass a bill aimed at curbing greenhouse gas emissions, facing a Republican filibuster in the Senate. However, the legislation died, and its prospects dimmed further when Republicans took control of the House in 2010. Mr. Obama has remained relatively silent on the issue, but it looks like they are going to be ratcheting talk up again to bring back carbon taxes as this agenda of, you know, evil, we'll call it, the satanic agenda of money-sucking. The synagogue of Satan, as the Bible describes it, I guess, is the best way to describe it. I'm pulling up this article here. I want to get it right from the New York Times. Let's see. And what they want to do is, I'm sure, start, you know, taxing people on how much breath, you know, if you want to breathe, if you want to run your car, if you want to, you know, I'm sure taxi drivers will be part of this. There's going to be a whole, if they implement some kind of carbon tax, we are going to see a huge repercussion financially. It goes on to say that
it's even crazier than that. October 8th, 2009, folks, Obama issued Executive Order 13514. What did that order do? It ordered the Defense Department and other agencies to reduce carbon dioxide emissions and other the so-called greenhouse gases from where? Guess where? From our military ships, from our from the very ships, the nuclear ships that carry our missiles, that defend our country, that defend this country.
But it's amazing to me that they can sit here and say that money is going to solve, by us taxing you, it's going to solve the carbon emissions problem, which makes no sense whatsoever. This article states that early studies on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change estimated that a carbon tax of up to $80 per metric ton of emissions, a tax that might raise gasoline prices by 70 cents a gallon, would eventually result in climate stability.
See, and that's so wrong, because look, folks, you want to know how much oil the United States has?
And it's not even that. I mean, the times we live in, the things that are happening in nature, the crazy natural disasters we're seeing, all this chaos economically, this chaos in the Middle East and throughout the world, it's all biblical. It has nothing to do.
Of course it's biblical. But look, to be practical first, we possess 26% of the entire world's oil supply. That's a quarter of the world's oil supply. Obama says, no, it's only 2%. Well, it's only 2% if you just count the lands that you're allowed to drill on, which is, you know, has been taken down to ridiculous levels. The Air Force, you talk about money, you know, look, the Air Force is subject to the mandates for biofuels, which are just ridiculous in and of themselves because of the corn, you know, the corn and ethanol and what have you. It costs more than $26 per gallon compared with a standard jet fuel for $4 a gallon. So the Air Force is paying $26 per gallon. The standard jet fuel is $4 a gallon. That's the mandate for biofuels, okay, what it costs for that. So it's just absolute insanity
Yeah,
what we're seeing here.
And it goes on to say how hard would it be to live with a tax of $300 a metric ton. If such a tax were phased in, the prices of goods would rise gradually in their proportion to the amount of carbon dioxide their production or use entailed. The price of gasoline, for example, would rise somewhat less than $3 a gallon.
It would rise by $3 a gallon.
Yeah, motorists in many countries pay already that much more than Americans do, and they seem to have adapted by driving substantially more efficient vehicles. It says a carbon tax would also serve two other goals. First, it would help balance future budgets.
That's right.
Tens of millions of Americans are set to retire, and they say, as a result, many budget experts agree that the federal budget simply can't be balanced with spending cuts alone. We need less substantial additional revenue, most which would be generated by a carbon tax. So if these new taxes are unavoidable, why not adopt ones that not only help reduce the budget, but help balance the budget, but help the economy grow more efficient by reducing harmful emissions? A carbon tax fits that description.
No, it doesn't.
That's what this article says.
But it doesn't.
I know.
Yeah, I know. See,
and I like this phrase in this article.
Up in this.
If new taxes are unavoidable.
They're not unavoidable.
Exactly.
Stop the spending for crying out loud. Stop the spending. That's what we have to do. It's crazy.
Right.
And stop subsidizing other people's lifestyle. Look, folks, this is why Obama's going to get back in anyway.
Yeah, and here we go again. FCC eyes tax on Internet service.
Of course.
The FCC is eyeing a proposal to tax broadband Internet service. The move would funnel money to Connect America Fund, a subsidy the agency created last year to expand Internet access. The FCC issued a request for comments on the proposal in April. Dozens of companies and trade associates have weighed in, but the issue has largely been flown under the public's radar. It goes on to say if members of Congress understood the FCC is contemplating a broadband tax, they'd sit up and take notice, this one researcher named Derek Turner said. But numerous companies, including AT&T, Sprint, and Google, have expressed support for the idea. Consumers already pay a fee on their landlines and cell phone bills to support the FCC's Universal Service Fund, the fund created to ensure that everyone in the country has access to telephone service, even if they live in remote areas or don't have a job or money.
Right.
Last year, the FCC overhauled $4.5 billion of this Universal Service Fund and converted it into broadband Internet subsidy called the Connect America Fund. The fund aimed to subsidize the construction of high-speed Internet networks to an estimated 19 million Americans who currently lack access. And these are people who are dependent on the government also. And I'm not saying that, some people don't need help or shouldn't receive help, but not in the way that we are going about doing it. Our government is completely all wrong and twisted, stealing, like they think they're playing Robin Hood, but really it's the opposite. They're stealing from the poor and they're giving to the rich.
And we always have to be very wary about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let you know it's not a Robin Hood. I mean, stealing from they're stealing from the poor, giving it to the rich, indeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the phones, folks.
Okay.
Let's get to the phones and take the caller that, of course, that we you've been on the air the longest. There, go ahead.
I think this is Sheila. Sheila, you're on the air with the Hagmann Report.
Hi, Doug. Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Good, Sheila. What's on your mind tonight?
I wanted to tell you, I hope that black gentleman is still listening. Yesterday, I turned my computer on. I went to Now the End Begins, and it's a Christian website, and they had this really big article on there about these Muslims that's going to be at the DNC. I usually write stuff down, but I didn't do that. There's this particular imam who's going to be there. It's another group, but it's not CARE, but they got the same mindset. But this imam called the United States a garbage dump, that they will conquer this country, they will get rid of Christianity, And they're going to give this man the floor at the DNC convention. So the people need to read that and pay attention to that. I'm not going to watch the DNC. I can't stand it. So people can see for themselves exactly what's going on as far as our government and these Muslims.
Right. No, you're exactly right.
That is scary. Now, whether he's going to get up there and call the United States a garbage dump is another story, but he's saying he's doing the same thing that CARE's doing, that there's a lot of Islamophobia going on, and, you know, they want to do something to change all that. Well, good luck.
Well, sure. Yeah, first of all, there is no Islamophobia. That's a total farce. I mean, you know, there have been more attacks against Jews and Christians in the United States than there have been against Muslims. If you look at exactly what the statistics, the crime statistics by religious motivation, it's not Muslims who are victims. In fact, there's more Muslim on Muslim crime than there is crime on Muslims. And that's right through the FBI statistics. But you're right, we've got to watch the DNC. I mean, you don't have to watch it, but we've got to watch it.
Yeah, keep an eye on what's happening.
And I'm wondering, though...
Well, that's an eye-opener. If people sit and watch that and see and let this man spew this kind of stuff at a Democratic convention, that should tell the people right there what they're up against.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Sheila, you're right. But you know what? It doesn't matter. See, that's the thing. It doesn't matter anymore. It's maddening. I mean, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. It does matter. But what you've got now is the false right-left paradigm, the false Democratic-Republican paradigm, this model that doesn't exist anymore. But you've got the Democrats who are so far left, they're communists. So you got the Republicans that have just been like sucked in their wake, you know. So everything's to the left. But you're right.
Exactly. As far as Hurricane Isaac, it's working on a hurricane.
Yeah.
I read an article yesterday that Republicans had signed some kind of amendment giving over some of their land to the Palestinians.
Yeah, it's not just Republicans. It's the
it's the whole government, and we're going to pay the price for it.
Oh, Genesis 12, chapter 12, verses 2 and 3. Yes.
It's groaning for the king.
That's right.
All the earthquakes, the bad weather, the droughts, all of it worldwide. The earth is groaning for our king to come, and he's going to come.
Sheila, you words never better spoken. God bless you. Anything else before you cut you loose?
Well, I hope you feel better with your back.
Thanks. It's an uphill battle, let me tell you. What's that?
I got herniated disc in my back, in my neck, so I know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, God bless you. I know that's painful. So, we'll say some prayers and take some ibuprofen, and we'll get better together. God bless you, Sheila.
You too.
Before we move on to another call, a couple topics we're going to get into. Federal Appeals Court throws out ACLU lawsuit over man scared away by 10 Commandments. Basically, a Florida town displaying the 10 Commandments on privately owned property had to be removed because the man said that he refused to buy property because the offensive language that was being displayed publicly. So the 10 Commandment statute was 5 foot 6 ton depiction.
5 foot
6 ton depiction of the 10 Commandments.
But it doesn't look that big according to the photograph.
No, but this guy was scared and offended and wanted it to be removed. Removing the monument is the right thing to do. It is not the business of the government to promote religious messages about monotheism, idolatry, taking the Lord's name in vain, or honoring the Sabbath.
Now let me ask you a question, though, Joe. Now, wait a second. Wait a second, because I think this is a legitimate question. If that was Surah 519 of the Quran,
okay, if they are a public,
if it's a private home, a private entity, private land, and they had a depiction of the Quran, which you shouldn't do, but they had a verse from the Surah.
Okay,
Surah 519.
A Muslim church?
No. Just what was this?
This was a public.
Or no, it was a private property.
Yes. Let me see.
So my question to you,
privately owned monument of the Ten Commandments at the county courthouse.
Oh, at the county courthouse.
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. Then I feel. See, okay. Now I feel a little differently about that. But let's take the Ten Commandments out of the courthouse, metaphorically speaking, or not. Let's put it on a piece of private property. We'll say.
Okay.
Okay. Now it's there.
What does it say in the Declaration of Independence? We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, pursuit to happiness. The First Amendment gives us the ability to speak freely. I showed you an article earlier how they banned Muslim prayer inside certain prisons, and I don't agree with that, because if they can do that, banning Muslims from praying in prisons,
they can ban Christianity.
Right.
They can ban. They can ban.
Anything.
See that? Okay, I agree with you.
Against the freedom of speech is wrong.
Now, except seditious speech. I guess.
I mean, if it was violent, if it said, kill all infidels, of course I wouldn't agree with it. If it was promoting, the Ten Commandments of something else that were all, uplifting, righteous, exactly what I'm saying, saying don't kill, don't steal, laws that we would all abide by and agree to abide by, I wouldn't have a problem with it, no matter which religion it was in, which writing it was in. No, I wouldn't pay attention to it. If I see signs I don't like, I don't pay attention to them.
Right.
I don't sit there and make, a life's work out of trying to get things removed that I don't agree with on other people's property, unless it was very offensive, or illegal. Then it might be different.
Okay. Well, so you're consistent. Sandy from Sandy wrote an email, and I think this is one of the most underreported stories, and probably one of the most important stories that we are looking into right now about the sinkhole in Assumption Parish in Louisiana that's next to a butane deposit, and if the two meet, they suspect that we could have perhaps an explosion, an atomic or an explosion that would have the same power as a number of Hiroshima type bombs. Now, Sandy asked if we know anything about that. We've been trying to get some information about that, and one thing that I found very interesting is the people who have that information, the public service people, the federal people especially, they're not talking. In fact, I had sent an email and then followed up with a phone call. I could not get any comment. They actually too, the federal officials and state officials have pretty much blocked off this area down there, is my understanding. So they can't even get media in there. My question now is, what's going to happen with this? I don't know. Sandy, we're going to be reporting more on this tomorrow night, because we do have, I know Steve is going to be talking about this, and Greg Evenson as well. I do believe they've got information. And what we're going to do is attempt to get something on our website. And then one more thing I want to just address David, who had sent me an email, and then we'll get back to
the phone?
Yeah. David said this, with all the signs pointing to an economic collapse. I'm not going to read the entire email, but basically, what's an ordinary guy like me supposed to do with my cash in the bank? And this is David talking, Don't have a lot, but what do we do with it? And he goes off and he said, look, I understand that we probably should have some metals, and he's heard this from Gerald Salenti as well, that metals aren't yours unless you're they're in your physical possession. And I would say that's correct. If you don't own them, or if you don't have them, if you can't touch them, if you can't guard them with a rifle, then in fact you don't own them. Absolutely, physical possession. Where I would go, I should say, if I was going to buy gold or silver, I would go directly to Steve Quayle. Why? Because I know that he delivers on, I mean, I sent my father-in-law there. Okay, I know the man delivers what he promises. And it's a good product. I mean, I'm not even sure what the silver rounds, I think Steve calls them. Definitely talk to Steve Quayle about if you're thinking about metals. And I don't get any kickback for this. I mean, he's a friend, but I trust him, and I know that he would not mess anybody up. And then about the Keystone Pipeline, David asks, and this is something, Joe, you might want to comment about. David, he said, my brother has mentioned that if we were to use it to put it in, there would be tons of pollution and the risk of oil spills. What do you think about do you have any thoughts on the Keystone Pipeline?
No, because I'm not as informed about it as I should be.
Well, David, let me tell you this.
I know that people on both sides have arguments of, you know, why and why not.
Right.
Why nots being the environmental risks and the people's private properties that would be affected by it. The why should they do it was for jobs and for cheaper gas in America. You know.
No,
I was just giving a note to let you know, to say that the guy was not a financial. He's not a financial advisor.
Who's not a financial advisor?
I don't know. Somebody you just mentioned when you were talking about.
No, Joe. No, I didn't mean to call anyone a financial advisor. I don't think. The email that I received, it was from Dave. He said, "I'm an ordinary guy."
Oh, okay.
Got it. All right. He says, I don't have a lot of cash, you know, like us. I mean, you know, what do you do with your money?
Right.
Okay. And then he mentioned like Gerald Salente, people like Gerald Salente, and listening to them and saying if you don't have physical possession of your metals, you don't really own them. And that's true. So that's to clear that up. But with respect to the pipeline, really quickly, look, folks, this of all the things that could have been a shovel-ready job, the Keystone Pipeline project was, and still could be. And as far as the disruption or the risk of pollution, they would be no more risky or no more disruptive as any other type of pipeline. Look, I know that there are spills, but we also have the ability to handle them.
The Gulf oil spills were awful. They are still affecting people. The Corexit and other chemicals there are.
And the hurricane with this Corexit.
Yes.
What's that going to do?
That's something that I didn't get a lot of time today to look into some things, but that's one thing I want to, and I want to thank Chrissy and a couple other people who send me emails on that. I appreciate it, and keep it up. I want to move to the phones here. We're going to take caller 770. You're on the air with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
I appreciate it, and keep it up. I want to move to the phones. We're going to take caller 770. You're on the air with the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hear that radio delay. Caller, are you with us?
Hello?
Yeah, caller, there's about a 7-second delay that you're experiencing, so if you can just
make sure the radio's turned down, and we
talk
should be
directly to us, yeah.
Okay.
What's on your mind?
It's better.
Yes, sir. Following you guys with the Liberty Broadcasting Network, and that's how I discovered you guys. And I just want to commend you for doing a great job and following Steve Quayle for 2 years as well. And I agree with the caller earlier. I'm also Afro-American male, and when it comes to my people, when I have to tell them the truth about Obama and the things that he's done with the old NDA and many of the other policies that he signed to law that really go against the people, and yet, you know, when I try to explain to them, it's as if, you know, they don't want to hear it. They're just oblivious to what is happening spiritually, and but like that, the new video that was made of my real father,
Oh yeah.
The director's name, but I had watched that. I showed it to my wife, and of course, you know, I share with her, and she tends to have an idea of what's happening, but so many others don't, and like you said, it's frustrating. But not all of us as blacks are, you know, we're independent thinkers. We're not all Kool-Aid drinkers, and we see what's going on as we exercise discernment that the Lord has given us to see through these things. And because this New World Order has no color bearing, and it's out to enslave the masses, you know, and that's just where we're at right now.
Boy, you are absolutely right. You know, look, I don't look at Obama as a black man. I don't look at, you know, I mean, it's weird. You know, I don't look at people by color. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I thought Bush was the worst president in the history of the world, and now Obama is now rivaling, you know, him as being the worst president in the world. And I think people have a problem. You mentioned spiritual discernment. About 75 to 95% of Americans in this country lack any type of spiritual discernment, and I think that's the major problem before race and anything else. People they're not in tune with their self or their own spirituality or what the Lord wants for them, and that's the key issue.
Amen. I agree totally. Before you can look at color and all that, it's spiritual. It's definitely a spiritual war that the Bible warned us about, and the perilous times would come. And I know you mentioned it, Joe, about, you know, you read from last week about, you know, 2 Timothy, perilous times. You know, we won't endure sound doctrine. That's what we see.
Yeah.
Even in the modern church today, no one's, like you said, share the same frustration. And another good friend of mine, we talk about these things, and how we don't hear it in the modern day church, you know. They're preaching and teaching the warning that these times are here. I don't know if it's because they're in fear or they don't have that much knowledge. My always thing is, even if you don't not knowledge about the end times, there's people that you can bring in to share with the congregation, you know. Get the word out where they can be taught about what's happening, and so they can be awakened to and discern the times and seasons by which we live.
And you know what, caller? I think that if we don't do that, like, for example, if we don't do that as watchmen, if the pastors don't do that as pastors, as leaders of their flock, of their church, of their people, we are going to be judged very harshly. Because we're going to have blood on our hands, you know. I really believe that.
Oh, yeah.
So,
that's right. You know, if the righteous justly be, you know, saved, you know, how much more the wicked, you know. So judgment does begin at the house of God. So it starts with us, you know.
That's right.
You're right. You know, you know, it says warn the righteous, warn the wicked, you know.
Exactly.
You know, so. Yeah, we have that responsibility that He has put into our hands, you know, the Lord Jesus. So, but you guys are doing excellent work, and look to support you as well, and let you know I do follow you, and it's just great to know that God has raised up watchmen in these last days to warn the people, and for those who are listening, and so that we can go out and try to reach the lost that who are still captivated by the devil's schemes.
Well, thank you so much, caller. I got to tell you that makes us feel good that you're out there, that you're listening, and do spread the word about the program, because we're always looking for, you know, new listeners. We want to grow, and we are. Yeah, and we are growing, you know. But I got to tell you something, and thanks, caller, for that call. But folks, I got to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. We are at a crossroads, really, a defining moment in our life, I guess, a defining moment. And we're certainly turning over this to God.
We don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice.
You know, if we are not doing God's will, we are doing our own, and usually our own will never matches up with what God's will is. And
but you know, where we are right now, as we're with this program, we're at a defining moment. We're at a moment where we have to make a decision and either turn everything over to God. Well, there's no or to that. We're turning over everything to God, because here's the deal. We cannot keep doing what we're doing and operating a full-time business. Something's got to give. Now, do we say, well, you know, we're just going to pay half attention to what we're doing here, and or we're going to try to keep going on the way we're going? No, we can't do that, because it's not fair to the listeners. It's not fair to our clients that we have, you know, our business clients. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take this on full time. Take this program on and take it full time.
I agree.
Okay, and look, that's like after 27 years of and I don't have, I mean, you know, self-employed. You don't have pensions. You know, I mean, sure, yeah, I could have had a 401, or I could have, you know, saved money, but no. That's we have to make that decision, and I think it's so important right now, because like that last caller, Ezekiel 33. Look, we're watchmen, so what do? We have to warn people. We have to give the best product that we can, and the best product is this show. We have to fine-tune the show. We've got to get better every day. Every day we got to get better. Every day we got to give you more information.
Right, and to add this, regardless whether we get advertisers and we get donations,
doesn't matter.
We will work different jobs to pay to broadcast out of our own pocket, like we did, like we have been doing, and we will continue to do that. We will never go off the air, you know, because of money or anything else. You know,
but at present we can't balance the two and do a good job at both, so we have to drop one or significantly cut one down.
Right.
And I'm talking about down to hardly anything. So what we've decided to do is maintain the program.
Yeah, definitely. And
grow.
Yeah. And even if it was, you know, like I said, we had to put more focus on another job, or one of us did, or whatever, the program would still be, I mean, this is something we've grown, at least I've grown into learning how to do, is put together, you know, different, you know, show prep and getting ready for the show, which a lot goes into getting ready for a 2-hour show.
For every hour, it's 2 hours.
Yeah, you'd be surprised, but
before.
It is a blessing to be here doing this. It is a blessing to have the audience we have, which is so great and so loyal to us. We really appreciate it. We can't thank you enough. And, you know, we just want God to bless all of you, and we need to stand together, or we are going to hang separately. Getting into a report here.
Before this, and I didn't talk to you about this, but in growing, we're also thinking, and I was also thinking too, right along with my T-shirt idea, I was thinking too, you know, if there is a desire for it, perhaps we can, since we are going to have to go, or we are going to be putting our entire full 100% efforts into this, perhaps we could take it into a 3-hour show as opposed to a 2-hour show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you folks would like that. I don't know if you could stand 3 hours of us.
That's a good point. You don't know.
But I'll tell you what, you know, so we're always, you know, who knows if you're, you know, let me know.
3 hours of the Hagmann and Hagmann report a day would be something, I tell you.
Yeah, it would be, and I'm not sure I could stand him for 3 hours. But that said,
no, I want to get back into this report. U.S. veterans forcibly sequestered in mental hospitals is indefinite detention, and this is a report from InfoWars from today. And it says, after Special Justice Walter Douglas Strokes sentenced former U.S. Marine Brandon Robb to 30 days detention in a psychiatric ward at the Veterans Hospital, Circuit Court Judge Alan Sherritt dismissed the case, citing that the original petition, devoid of any factual allegations, that it could not be responsibly expected to give rise to a case or controversy. This article, goes on to say that more people, especially veterans, will be targeted due to psychological reasons. As they say, 1/3 of returning veterans from Afghanistan and Iraq are determined to be mentally or psychologically ill. Touting post-traumatic stress disorder, more than half of the returning veterans are considered suffering of a war-related mental disorder. Now, we've seen the recent detentions, we've been in the middle of it.
All this is a method of gun control. It's a method of intimidation. And I'll tell you, I was talking to Judy this weekend about this. You know, John Whitehead, I believe, was on one of the programs saying, hey, there's like 200,000 across the United States that are like this. Sorry about that, like this in this situation. Now the numbers are based or extrapolated from the state of Virginia, and based on the state of Virginia numbers, extrapolated per state, per capita, and what have you. So, but think about that, okay? Think about that defanging of that particular element of the population as in terms of not being able to protect themselves, their families, and what a tool that Hitler made of that very same psychiatric excuse. And this is what we're seeing in America today by Napolitano and Obama.
And there was a study done by, I'm not sure who, but they say that they can take these young service members because they're more likely to be of lower rank and more likely to have greater combat exposure than the elder counterparts. And they say that they can overestimate the burden of mental health disorders. And most recently, a study came out, the oppositional defiance disorder, or a new label, which is described as mental disease wherein freethinkers, nonconformists, civil disobedience supporters, those who question authority are perceived as being hostile towards governments and are labeled mentally ill. Also, I think it was in 2009, Janet Napolitano had the idea that they wanted to instill the idea that veterans were being recruited to become right-wing extremists upon returning from Iraq and Afghanistan. Butch Janet Napolitano intimidated that military veterans could have become instruments of domestic terror. When Napolitano's comments were met with public disdain, the DHS amended their assertion that extremist groups were highly marked, but rather it was a lone wolf type that would carry out the biggest act of domestic terrorism. But the DHS has been compiling over the years data on all freedom-loving, constitutional patriots, veterans, anti-abortionists, Christian, any kind of people who are scared of centralized federal authority or disagree with centralized federal authority, disagree with globalization, internationalism, multiculturalism in a one-world government type fashion. You are the enemy. You will be labeled the enemy, targeted, and as you can see in the last weeks, last months, the last years, have been targeted. And luckily enough, we still have some good judges, some good police, some good people out there working to make sure this does not continue to happen. But with these reports continuing, with the psychiatrists, stating that half or more of returning veterans are mentally ill, and we're going to see a resurgence of troops come back from Afghanistan and from the Middle East after, being through combat. Expect to see more of these U.S. veterans being detained, maybe for nothing, maybe being set up for doing something. We saw the guy was detained for a simple Facebook post that was nonviolent, and
that's going to be happening more and more.
He was detained for periods of time, sentenced to 30 days in a psychiatric ward over a Facebook post, and it took what the Obama administration would consider a radical judge to do a constitutional thing by releasing him.
Yeah, a radical judge. Go figure. Yeah, it really is crazy.
Yeah.
Now we've got. Don't forget, folks. Tomorrow we've got Greg Evenson and Steve Quill coming on from 9 to 12, special time, 3-hour show.
Yes.
Okay. So those joining us late, 3 hours tomorrow night. And I got to tell you something. I got to tell you, Yes, thank you for letting me know. Yes, Rick Wiles. I received an email. I sent him an email out. I received an email from one of our listeners as well that Rick did not do a show today. He was on Facebook. He's okay. And I also received another email saying that he was all right. So everything's okay in the Rick Wiles camp, folks.
Yeah. And he will be back on air whenever he is ready, whenever his situation clears up, and it's not that he's in a bad situation, just whenever he is feels so good about coming back on air.
Well, you know,
which will be shortly this week, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. I am. Now, also, Amos, chapter in the Bible, 3, verse 7. Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. Southern California. That's not part of the message there. Steve Quayle sent this to me, and about the earthquake swarm and hurricane both, and references Amos, the book of the Bible, chapter 3, verse 7. Again, let me say that without munging the words together. Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. Massive earthquake swarm, Southern California, near the southern end of the San Andreas Fault.
We had another earthquake just recently in Mexico, 4.7. I think I saw in the chat room somebody comment on that. And we had, let me pull up the earthquake link. They are switching the USGS site to a new site. So everybody, I will post a link in the chat room to the USGS earthquake map. They are doing a new, switching formats to a new earthquake map. I don't know why they are doing this. I like their old model better, but
I'm not exactly certain why either. But in addition to what Steve said also about Hurricane Isaac, God's final warning to America, there's a citation here to Revelation chapter 16, verse 7. And I heard out of the altar say, even so, Lord God Almighty, true and righteous are thy judgments. And isn't it interesting, Hurricane Isaac, again, you know, the similarities to Katrina, perhaps, perhaps not, but it's scheduled to hit New Orleans area on Wednesday. That's the prediction. And, you know, as one caller said, and I think you mentioned about the southern decadence, the week of decadence and such. Isaac, of course, is biblical name, meaning laughter, you know, and we had somebody in the chat room point that out to us last week, and isn't it something that, you know, when you say laughter, you know, it's like a final warning. I would take it that, and we're going to explore that with both Greg and Steve tomorrow.
Yeah, we had a 4.1 earthquake and a 4.7 earthquake. One in this one, it looks like it's in California, but might be northern Mexico. The other one is in southern Central America, and those just happen on the same fault line that these swarms of earthquakes have been happening throughout the last few days. Just wanted to keep you updated on that as I re-bookmark my new USGS site.
But look, I think we have to look at
we're seeing the pattern here.
Earthquakes, yeah, the pattern indeed. But I think more importantly, I think people have to look at this through the spiritual eyes, through the prism of the Bible, the Scripture.
Well, I mean, what's going on? We have Fukushima still leaking radiation. We have never before in human history been attacked by our food and water. We have never before in human history had humans being genetically modified. We've never before had people be allowed to kill their babies through abortion, especially the staggering number of abortions, the millions of the
and we export that
50+ million in America and the billion in the world. And there's natural disasters. We have just the most horrendous things happening to us all at once: economic collapse, war, rumors of war, earthquakes in diverse places, people, the evil ones, the kings of the earth, heaping together treasures for the end days, gold and silver, hiding in bunkers. We see the bunkers being built. The gold, the silver is all being stockpiled. Seed vaults. The federal government is preparing for something drastic. The bullets, the everything. I mean, everything points to one direction. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's going to be, but you know,
I'll tell you what,
it looks like it's going, and if it's not where it's going, they're doing a good job at keeping us distracted from something else that is incoming that we have no idea about.
No, and I do believe that we have to really, at this point, you know, be on our knees, be humble before God, and say, look, and repent, you know, and really repent, ask for forgiveness. Don't forget, read about the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Folks, you know the Bible, so.
Yeah.
No, but I think it would do good to reread that because, look, I don't think we're very far behind that.
Yeah, tomorrow, Greg Evenson, Steve Quayle, 9 to 12 Eastern Standard Time. The very next day, Wednesday, Marinka Peshman, 8 to 10 normal time. Here, we're also working on another guest for the end of this week.
Couple more, yep, and you're going to be surprised the following week what we got going, so. It's if you're around, if you don't decide to take another weekend junket.
Look, I'll open the chat room an hour early tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Please, if you can, jump in then because the chat room gets full, and we want you to get in there. So,
spread the word.
We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.
Good night.